All right, class of 2025, welcome. We're going to go ahead and get started tonight. Thank you all so much for joining us. This is the first time we've done a virtual info session like this. We hope it's helpful. We hope it gives you the information you need for next year. And we really look forward to speaking with you tonight. Before we get started, just a few things to point out. At the bottom of your screen, there should be a Q&A button. Any questions you have at any time, feel free to click on that Q&A, submit your question, and we'll answer all questions at the end of the presentation. But again, feel free to submit them at any time. My name is Molly Edwards. I'm the admissions director at Neumann Goretti. I'll be working with you over the next year on the admissions process. I really look forward to that. I'd also like to introduce our president, Mr. Joe McColgan, and our principal, Mr. Hugh Quigley. All three of us will be leading this session tonight. And we're looking forward to speaking with you, giving you information, and answering your questions. So I'm going to hand it over to Mr. McColgan to do a welcome and tell you a little bit about Neumann Goretti.
Thank you, Ms. Edwards. Can everyone hear me okay? Hello? Can you hear me? Molly?
Joe, you sound fine.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Edwards. Greetings and welcome for the first ever Neumann Goretti 7th grade virtual info session. I hope everyone is safe and healthy and maintaining some sense of sanity in these crazy times. As Molly said, your host this evening are Hugh Quigley, our principal, Mrs. Edwards, our admissions director, and as Mrs. Edwards said, I'm Joe McColgan, president of this fine academic institution. First, thank you for taking time out of your schedule this evening. We will do our best to make it informative and beneficial. Who could have imagined just 46 days ago on a beautiful Sunday, beautiful sunny Friday, that the lives of 516 students, 26 faculty members, and our related staff would have been turned upside down. It's a testament to the students, faculty, our leadership team, that when you get the call at 2 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, and you were told that all schools for the foreseeable future will be closed, and that students need to shift from the real-time learning to virtual learning by 9 a.m. Tuesday morning, and not one teacher has taught on this platform. Well, it makes for an interesting weekend. But let me tell you what, that this magnificent faculty and staff of ours, and I do mean magnificent, there are none better, came together, and by 9 a.m. on Tuesday morning, 98% of our students had checked in, were sitting on the computers, and ready to learn. That's simply amazing. For 46 days, our students have been learning with no interruption to their academic instruction, while other school districts, 46 days later, haven't even begun to teach. Faculty and staff are doing wonderful things in these crazy times, and will continue to do so for your child as well. I joined the team back in August of 2017, so I'm almost 3 years into my role as president here at Neumann Goretti. Over these 3 years, we have seen enrollment continue to rise year over year. Last year, we saw the largest increase in overall enrollment of any other Catholic secondary school in the system. We were the only secondary school to actually add teachers to our roles because of our growth. Our teachers are younger and come with a better understanding of the complexity of education in the 21st century. We continue to add instructional courses where we see the need, along with an ever-growing advanced placement program. We pride ourselves in the continued academic transformation of Neumann Goretti, and we expect academic excellence. We have championship athletic teams and multiple coaches of the year. As a former naval officer, I expect your child to show respect to everyone, themselves included. So when they enter our building, we expect them to show respect throughout. We expect them to be on time and ready to learn, because after all, that's why you're paying tuition. We are family. Just ask any current student or alumni. One constant I see every year are students, regardless of what grade they're in, working together. For me, anyone who walks into our building, whether it be for 180 seconds or 180 days, they're my responsibility. And so for the safety of our students, faculty, and staff, last year we installed additional security cameras throughout the building. I believe it's 38 in all. And if you live close by, you probably notice new security lighting at night as well. So we take the safety of everyone who enters the building seriously. I'll end it there and toss it back to Mrs. Edwards. Thank you in advance for your interest in St. John Neumann Goretti Catholic High School. If you have any questions as your high school search moves forward, please not hesitate to reach out. Be safe and be well. Mrs. Edwards.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. McColgan. Just another point for those of you who have joined just now. As we're talking, if you have any questions, use that Q&A button at the bottom of your screen to submit them, and we'll make sure we answer all of the questions by the end of our session. I'm going to take some time now to go over what the application process will look like for your students. We really look forward to working with you over the next year, year and a half as you work through this process. We live in a city with a lot of high school options. There are so many to choose from. Every school has a different process. Our goal is to make the process of applying to Neumann Goretti as straightforward as possible so that you can focus on choosing the school that makes the most sense for you. The first step for every student is to fill out an online application. That will be available on our website in August or September. We'll send out an email. By attending this session, you'll be on our email list, so we'll alert you to everything. But you'll fill out that application on our website in August or September. It's free to do. It doesn't take too long. You'll actually create an account, and then you can log in, check your status, see what you still need to do, and really keep track of everything. All 8th graders applying for 9th grade need to submit a copy of their final 7th grade report card. So that's the one you'll get at the end of this year. We understand this is an unusual year, so we will work with you as you're getting those records and work with what you have at the end of the year. We'll also want to see your first 8th grade report card when you receive it. And then we look at your attendance and conduct records as well. And all of those things you'll submit through your application portal. So it's really easy to send everything over. The final piece, and I know a lot of people had questions because many of you were signed up for our practice exam. All 8th graders are required to take our entrance exam. We offer it in the fall. The first date will be in October. We'll have probably another date in October or November. We'll share those with you. We'll post them on our website. The test itself is online. It's one section of math and one section of reading, and each section has about 20 questions. So your students will do about 40 questions total. It is our hope that we can reschedule the practice exam before the start of the school year, but like you, we are waiting on information. We're not sure what the plan will be for this summer. So if we're able to offer it, we certainly will. If not, we found that Khan Academy, it's a free website that has test prep, is a really good way for your students to at least practice, to go through those test questions. They'll be tested on 8th grade material, so what they would be expected to know as 8th graders in the fall. So if you're looking for some test prep, I would definitely check out Khan Academy. For those of you whose children attend Catholic schools in the Archdiocese, for the last 4 or 5 years, most of the Catholic grade schools have worked with us and allowed us to offer the exam at their school during the school day at no cost. We plan to do that again this year for any school that's open to it. We'll share that information. We'll send the dates out. We'll let you know when that will be. If you're not at a Catholic grade school or your school is not offering the test, you can sign up for one of the test dates at Neumann Goretti. And again, any questions, feel free to submit as we're talking. That's it. That's the application process. Your application, send us your records, take the exam. As long as you do all 3 of those, you can expect your results within about 2 to 3 weeks of the exam, letting your student know what their next steps are. If they've earned scholarships, if they're accepted right away, if we'd like them to come in for an admissions interview. We stay in close contact with you. And like I said, we try to make the process as streamlined as possible. That leads us into scholarships and financial aid, which I know is on everybody's mind right now. We offer academic scholarships. They're based on students' test scores on the entrance exam and your final 7th grade GPA. Depending on how your student does on the exam and their grades in 7th grade, those scholarships can cover anywhere from 15% to full tuition. So there's a wide range. We look at kids at different levels. We do try to recognize students who are excellent academically. We also offer leadership grants. It's a special application on our website. Students can apply. We typically offer 3 or 4 of those per year to members of the incoming 9th grade. It's for students who are leaders in their community and at their school. That will be available also starting in September or October. Those are scholarships that come directly from Neumann Goretti to students. The other source of aid is financial aid. This is money that we have available through the generosity of our donors, our alumni, our friends who continue to support our school. We're able to use those funds to offset the cost of tuition for families who qualify for assistance. In early October, we'll release the financial aid application. It's called the FACTS application. You must complete it if you want to be considered for financial aid. And that can usually cover up to about 25% of tuition. Finally, we have external scholarships. Those are scholarships that come from outside organizations. So we don't necessarily we don't give them, we don't select who gets them, but we do share them so that you can take advantage of as many sources of funding as possible. And I do see some questions. I'm just going to take a look. Let's see. Okay. Khan Academy, for those who are asking, it's Khan. Just Google Khan Academy, Khan, and you can find that one. Finally, the most important thing we can tell your students as they're trying to figure out where they're going to go to high school is to visit. We understand this is a strange time to tell you to visit because no one can visit anywhere right now. But it's our hope that once we're in the fall, we can get back to business as usual and your students can come visit us. Our open house will be in October. We'll send that date out as soon as we can. It's a great opportunity to see the school, meet the teachers, get tours from students, see everything we have to offer, which is just so much. After open house, we'll start offering shadow visits where your students come spend a full day at Neumann Goretti, go to classes, eat lunch with our students, experience what it's really like. In my opinion, that's the absolute best way to experience the school and see if it's the right place for you. We do require that students register for shadow days. They usually fill up quickly, so we recommend signing up early. We'll release the dates probably in September for shadows starting in October, and we'll send that information out as well. That is a basic overview of admissions. I am always available for questions. I'm happy to answer them. Like I said, we'll revisit the questions you're asking now at the end, but for now, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Quigley to talk a little bit about our academic program.
All right, thank you, Molly. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us online for 7th grade information session. Really excited that we have so many 7th grade families that are interested in engaging with us in this format, especially during this challenging time. So first, I want to say thank you to everyone, and I hope that everyone and your families are safe and doing well at home. Ms. Edwards asked me to join us this evening and speak a little bit about our academic program. I guess first, I definitely would like to tell you, since I don't know, can't see everybody, maybe I know some people in the audience, but I thought maybe you would want to just know a little bit about each of us too, and maybe I'll ask Ms. Edwards and Joe to, it's always nice to know a little bit about the people that that you'll be working with, right? And that you'll be potentially entrusting your child with. So just a little bit about myself. I've been at Neumann Goretti. This is the, it was 10 years in January. So it's like my 11th school year. I've been principal for 4 years, assistant principal for 4 years before that, and I taught math when I first started working at Neumann Goretti. I'm a graduate, class of 1996 from South Philadelphia, graduate of Epiphany of Our Lord in South Philadelphia. And that's just a little bit about myself. Wanted to let you know, I did go to Drexel for my undergrad in engineering, and then for my master's in education. Always really excited. What gets me excited about Neumann Goretti, there's a lot of things I love about Neumann Goretti. I think what I might want to be able to tell you about myself is that definitely what gets me excited about working with our students every day is that the opportunity to give back to our local and our broader Philadelphia community, and really help families and their children reach their aspirations for post high school. That's what really gets me excited every day, and to be able to do that in a safe and faith-based environment. Let me tell you a little bit about our program. We thought it might make sense for you to tell us a little bit about like what we're hoping to see from an 8th grade applicant. So just some generalities. I'll try and make sure that I speak to as broad of audience as possible. If you're coming from Catholic school, right, your conduct and effort are on the left side of the report card. And typically on that side of the report card, we're looking for those 3s and 4s and the plus signs. And you know, if you don't have that type of report card, you know, we're looking for, you know, no conduct referrals of any serious nature. On the academic side of the report card, you know, A's and B's are definitely preferred. If that's not where you're at as a student, we'll probably want to get to know more about you because we have students of a wide range of performance at Neumann Goretti, and we just want to always make sure that you know what would be expected of you at Neumann Goretti and how we'd be able to support you to be an excellent student with us as well. On the back of the typical Catholic school report card, you do have your attendance record. So we always take a look at that as well. I know that's in a different place on other report cards. So, you know, if there's anything that we need to discuss, I always like to take that opportunity to let you know what good attendance looks like at Neumann Goretti, and attendance and lateness. We always discuss it. If it's something that stands out, don't be nervous about it, but please be open to having a discussion about it when you're applying. Let's see. Overall, let me tell you a little bit about our overall curriculum. Like, what are you signing up for when you come to Neumann Goretti? So, when you sign up for an education at Neumann Goretti, you are entering into a curriculum that historically and still is designed to be a college preparatory curriculum. That means that the student that completes the requirements of a Neumann Goretti education will meet the requirements to gain acceptance in the college, and will also be prepared to do that. I'm not saying that we do one size fits all. I'm saying that we found at Neumann Goretti with our size, we like to stay focused, and we think that preparing every student for college will also help to prepare for career, no matter what they decide to do when they leave us. That being said, the majority of Neumann Goretti students do go through the college application process. And probably I would say typically about 90% indicate when they leave us that they will be enrolling in 4 or 2-year college. And just to give you a sense of typically what Neumann Goretti students will go on to pursue right after high school. Something that I think is really important for you to know that may be different from, was different from my experience in high school. And so I always like to make sure that parents are aware, is that it's not the traditional Catholic school tract system that you may have been accustomed to or went through yourself or heard about, or that's even common in non-Catholic schools. We are leveled, so there are honors and advanced placement classes, and then there are college preparatory classes. So when I go to the way I explain it, it makes the most sense to me, having gone through a track system, is saying like, hey, remember you were in school and like honors was track 1 and track 2 was like above average. Well, think of it more like there's only track 2, but track 2 isn't just for above average students. It's for all students to get exposed to a college preparatory and rigorous and grade level curriculum through their whole time. What they found over the years is that if you're achieving at a certain level and you come in, they say like, oh, go in track 4, you'll be fine. What happens is you never get exposed to grade level material. And in grade school, it was okay to work with a variety of learners with different levels of academic performance, which enhances your education, especially when you're working in pairs and groups. And then to subtly take that away in high school really does stunt students from growing no matter where they're starting at. And we always want our students to have the most opportunity to grow. So just a little bit more about the structure of what our levels of classes look like that we think is really important for a rising 8th grade family to know about our school. We do have something I really like is our guidance, not really like, but something I get really excited about is our guidance department. For a small school, we have a nice sized guidance department. We have 4 full-time counselors and a part-time college counselor. One of our full-time counselors is also a social worker. So we have a very good ratio of guidance counselors to students. And as far as college counseling goes, we start getting you ready to think about if you want to apply to college and how. That even starts freshman year. You'll get signed up for your College Board account. That's the company that runs like the SATs and the PSATs. You'll take a PSAT every year and get your results and track your results as you grow as a Neumann Goretti student. And you also start out, even freshman year, you'll start out with like a career inventory survey to start thinking about what you want to do when you graduate. So as soon as you come in, we're already starting to think about how do we set you up for what you want to do afterwards, because that's our goal. We have 4 years to get you ready for adulthood, and we're going to do our very, very best to provide that for your child. Some programs that we're excited that have grown at Neumann Goretti over the past few years are our advanced placement program has grown. We used to offer about 4 classes. We used to only offer about 4 on site. That's grown. By next year, it should be at about 8. So it's grown 50% in the last couple of years as far as in-school options. And then we've really blown that number out of the water by going online. So we do offer a variety of classes through online vendors as well. So kids have more of a larger buffet to pick from based upon their interests. And we do have a lot of dual enrollment college credit classes. So once you get to junior and senior year, we do have opportunities for students that are ready for it to enroll in dual enrollment classes. Right now, our areas are like general college electives, like college and psychology and philosophy. We have some criminal justice classes. We have about 9 students that travel to LaSalle every day for a variety of classes. And we also have computer science classes. Those are all dual enrollment tracks that we have right now for our juniors and seniors. We have about 20% of our students taking dual enrollment in any given school year. So we're really excited about those 2 programs. 4 years of fine arts being visual arts or studio art, drawing. That goes from Art 1 all the way up to AP Art. And we also have 4 years of orchestra and a budding choir and dance program. The orchestra is on the large side for a small school that we usually have like between 60 and 70 students enrolled in music classes and participating in our Christmas and spring concerts every year. And and world language, I don't want to forget about that. And then I think that'll cover everything. But for world language, we do have 4 years of Italian and Spanish that we offer for all of our students. I think the one thing Ms. Edwards wanted me to touch on is like, hey, that's great, but what would I be doing freshman year? Like, could you slow it down a little bit? So freshman year, there's not a wide variety of choice. You know, it's high school, so you start out, you have a little bit less choice, and as you go along, your roster opens up, right? But you'll have your regular classes. So you'll have 4 years of theology. So you'll have theology 1, English 1. Almost all students, typically we have everybody do algebra 1. There are not really too many exceptions to that. Even if you've taken algebra 1 already, we could talk about it, but typically you'll take algebra 1. Our science class is really unique to the Archdiocese and to Neumann Goretti. So our freshman science class is not physical science like you might remember when you went. It's intro to conceptual physics. It's designed for a freshman, but it's a really interactive with a lot of little mini labs to kind of get kids interested in that part of science in the hopes that they might take physics when they're a senior. Your social studies class will be world history. You will have what I call a swing period where you'll get extra time for Algebra 1 and extra time for English 1, and that alternates from day to day. And you'll have a lunch. And your last period will either typically people pick up maybe a language or a first year of art or orchestra. So that's kind of what you could look forward to in freshman year, as far as what you have classes you would normally take with us. Everybody takes a full roster, and pretty much everybody takes a full roster every year. So I hope that was a helpful overview of Neumann Goretti and our academic program, and specifically what you would look forward to as a freshman at Neumann Goretti. And I guess I'll pitch it back over to Ms. Edwards. And again, that hope everyone and their family is doing well. And please know Neumann Goretti community keeps everyone that engages with our community in their prayers every day. So thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much, Mr. Quigley. That was a really nice overview of what makes Neumann Goretti special, what we have to offer. And to answer your question, I appreciate you giving some background. To give some background on myself before we go to Q&A, I will be entering my 4th year at Neumann Goretti this fall, and I love it at Neumann Goretti. The thing that drew me there, I'm a product of Catholic schools. I went to Catholic school from kindergarten all the way through college, and my Catholic school experience was really marked by family. Everything about it felt like family. It felt like a community, and it felt like a place where people just went to look out for one another and get work done. And that is the exact feeling I have at Neumann Goretti. We have a dedicated faculty and staff who really do go above and beyond. They don't question anything. They just do what they need to do to help our students succeed. We have kids who are so kind and friendly and look out for one another. And it's just a really nice environment, both to be an employee, but also I think to be a teenager. It's a unique place for kids where they can feel comfortable. They can trust the people around them. They feel supported. Any kid you ask will tell you they love our school because it feels like a second home. And that's what I love most about it too. So I hope that's the feeling your students will have when they come visit us as well. I'm going to go ahead and start looking through your questions. Myself, Mr. Quigley, and Mr. McColgan will answer them. Let's see. So we have a question about, and I think this will come up a lot. I think we all know what's happening right now in schools across the city, across the country. It's unprecedented. Some students are getting online education, some are not, some are having optional education, some are being graded. We understand it's a full spectrum. So how are we going to take that into account when we're looking at 7th grade report cards next year for our applicants? And I think, Mr. Quigley, that's probably best for you to answer, but I'm happy to chime in as well. Oh, Mr. Quigley, you're muted.
Thank you. I had the Q&A box up and I didn't notice. What I think it's going to be unique to each student because each student will be coming from a school that may have handled their grades differently. So I think the onus will be on us to look at where a student is enrolled and how their grades were handled to be able to make the best determination of how we look at their grades. And what that means to us. So I would say we definitely try to get to know all of our applicants up front. Admission to Goretti is not just based on your report card. Some people may have pass fail, right? How do we really take that in consideration? We'll probably have to look at how you did at the beginning of 7th grade and going into 8th grade, right? I know people are probably nervous. They're not sure what their 8th grade year is going to look like, right? Am I going to be in school all the time out? Is this going to happen again? Right? So many uncertainties that we're not sure about. I guess what I could say is that I hope that I can assure you of, at least in this webinar, is that we're committed to looking at each student's individual circumstances, especially as far as it comes of like, if your school did pass fail, does that mean that to me you don't have an A or a B and I don't want to look at it? Like, absolutely not. That's not what that means. I hope that answers that question. I really do think we have to look at each individual circumstance. That's why I think it's important that our admissions process is not only based upon your report card grades.
Great. Thank you. And yeah, I would echo that. When we look at students, of course, we look at the report cards and the test scores, but that's where we start. We want to learn about your student. We want to get to know them. We want to know what their previous year was like so that we can both determine, both Neumann Goretti and your family, if it's the best fit school for you. That's the most important part. So we will really work with you to sort through this year's academics. Let's see. A question about sports scholarships. This comes up frequently. We do not offer athletic scholarships. We're part of the PIAA Athletic League. They do not allow athletic scholarships. So we don't offer them so as not to put any student in violation of the league, to put them in jeopardy when they're looking to play in college if that's something they want to do. We have a phenomenal athletic program at Neumann Goretti. Our teams they work hard, they're really good. We have some that are extremely competitive. But the focus at Neumann Goretti is academics. So what I love is that all of our athletes are student athletes. Their academics come first. Their coaches know that. Their teachers know that. Most of our teams at this point have started implementing mandatory study hall between the end of the school day and the start of their practice. So the final bell rings, they'll go to a classroom for 30 minutes to an hour so students can do their homework, check in with teachers, whatever they need to do, and then they go on to practice. So we don't offer athletic scholarships because, one, our league prohibits it, and two, our focus really is on academics, getting students prepared for the next step. That said, if your student is an athlete and that's something they love, it's a great place, it's a great school for them to continue to thrive in that element. Let's see. Current tuition rate, Mr. McColgan, I'll let you talk a little bit about current tuition and what you expect for the following year for this class of 2025.
Current tuition for this year is $8,050, and then we add in fees, so all in it's $9,050. Going forward into next year, I don't know what that's going to look like. Historically, the Archdiocese has increased tuition roughly to $253 a year, but we do our best to offset that with financial aid and with scholarships and with other financial opportunities that we can present to our students. So don't know what it looks like going forward, but this year it's all in, it's $9,050.
Thank you. A question about the McGuire scholarships. Those, yes, that is considered an external scholarship. It comes from the McGuire Foundation. Students, that application typically is available sometime in the fall or winter. We don't have control over when it's released. Students apply for that. We have some participation in choosing the recipients, but it's ultimately the choice of the Archdiocese and the McGuire Foundation. So you will apply outside of Neumann Goretti, but we'll definitely share that when it's available. I have a question about interviews. So when is a student expected to come in for an admissions interview, and what does that look like? For our purposes, an interview typically happens if a student's entrance exam scores are a little lower than what we like to see, or if we have any questions about their final 7th grade report card, we invite them to an admissions interview. Typically, quite a few students who apply end up having an interview. It's either with Mr. Quigley or with our assistant principal, Mrs. Torres. They're really positive experiences. It's a chance for us, like we said, the test and the report card are a starting point. That's where we start to get to know you. We want to really get to know each student individually. So this is the chance for us to do that, to learn about you, to answer questions, to give you information. And I'll let Mr. Quigley talk a little bit more about that since he actually conducts the interviews.
Sure. Yeah, so we had a lot of interviews this year for a variety of reasons. So I would say getting an interview is more typical than not. And so it's definitely an experience that I look forward to. Since you're on this call, I could kind of give you the cheat sheet if you like. I don't know if I'll change it for next year, but typically I'm asking questions. It's definitely not like a job interview. So it's not like somebody says, let's look at your report card and ask you why this happened. That's definitely not our approach. Like Molly said, it really is an opportunity to get to know you better as a student and a family. They're typically pretty quick since we've been online. Since we've been home, I've actually been doing them on the phone as needed for transfers and 8th graders that are still applying at this time of year. they take 10 minutes in person, they take 15 to 20 sometimes, and that's just because we're in person, and it's just more, there's more interaction. So, typically I'm asking about your favorite subject and why it's your favorite subject, your most challenging, and why that was challenging for you, but what was something positive about that challenging subject anyway. And the most important question is, I really want to know, like, why Neumann Goretti is the right fit for you. So, um, almost reverse of an interview, not what can you do for Neumann Goretti. It's great if you're bringing a lot to the table, but I want to know why we're the right fit for you. So then I could usually that gives me an opportunity to let you know some things I think we have that really fit with what the student and the parent is looking for. So those are my typical questions. So you're on the call, so you kind of at least know what questions I would normally ask in an interview. Um, and it's typically, not typically, I would say always a positive experience. And I look forward to them. Honestly, our ultimate goal is to probably interview. We want to get to the point where I have the capacity to interview everyone that's applying and getting ready to register. That's how positive the experience that we've had with it.
Another question was, what is the maximum income to be considered for financial aid? There's not necessarily a maximum income. What the fax application looks at is your family's income versus your family's core expenses. So the things that you have to pay every month. So that's going to be different for every family, right? Some families have multiple children in private schools. They have children in college. They have children in daycare. They have medical expenses for a child or family member with special needs. So it's not necessarily if you make this much money, you get this much aid. We do really look at each family individually to see what makes the most sense. Typically, the maximum amount we're able to award is about 25% of total tuition. That's based on what we have available to give, with our goal being to award the most possible aid to as many families as possible so that we can make Neumann Goretti an option for as many as possible. A question about how many students are at Neumann Goretti this school year. We are at about 520. So just over 500. We expect to stay at that number next year. What we like about that number, it's a large enough school that we have so much to offer. Mr. Quigley went over so many of the things we have, but between academics, arts, athletics, there is something for everyone. There's so many ways for students to explore their interests, to learn, to grow. But it's still small enough that the students really get to know everyone. Their teachers get to know them so well. They'll never just be a face in the crowd or a number. They will be known by their teachers, by their administrators, by everyone in the building. So it really does maintain that family feel, that Catholic school feel. So we really like that number. It's a nice place to be. We continue to keep growing year over year, but we like having that really tight community feel. Let's see. Question about if your student is taking a higher level math than their grade level, we would definitely work with you to see if they qualify to test into the next level of math in 9th grade. It's a conversation we would have individually. We do it occasionally, but not for every student. Question, can you be guaranteed orchestra freshman year? Not necessarily guaranteed, but what we do is for all of our incoming 9th graders, they have the opportunity to fill out a form ranking the electives they would like to take in 9th grade. So those include orchestra, chorus, studio art, Spanish, and Italian. We do our very best to give each student their first or second choice from that form that they fill out. So we try our best to give them that if it's their first choice. If they don't get it freshman year, they can almost certainly take it the following year. A question, are there science labs? Mr. Quigley, I'll let you talk a little bit more about how lab fits into the science curriculum.
Yeah, sure. For science, I'm assuming the question is about physical space, and the answer is definitely yes. We have more than adequate lab space for chemistry, biology, and physics labs, and they're updated and modern. So I hope that answers that question. And the biology and all those subjects do have a lab component that we that the teachers execute.
Thank you. This question, do we offer a financial fitness type of course? We do have a full business curriculum that students can start taking in junior year. So they can take personal finance, business law, and I believe either accounting or marketing. They can take multiple of those. Some students take 2 or 3 business courses between junior and senior year. So definitely that opportunity is there. We have, hey, Christian Hankerson, I'm glad you're here. Thanks for showing up today. How are students tested to be placed in honors or AP classes, and are they offered to freshmen? Mr. Quigley, I'll let you take that one.
Sure. So for freshman year, definitely there's definitely honors classes that are offered freshman year. Usually about 20% of the class is placed into an honors section, and class size, some of it depends on class size because class size is limited. A student would typically, for honors, would typically be an A student in 7th and 8th grade, and will perform very well in standardized test, in their history of standardized testing, not only in our entrance exam, which is the main predictor, but we'll also look at your records coming out of 8th grade and the standardized testing that you took. So you're looking at, I don't want to put a percentile on it, but very, very strong history of strong performance in standardized testing and report card grades. Advanced placement, we haven't had an advanced placement option for freshmen yet. Not saying that it's off the table, but once you're in Neumann Goretti, we do base entrance into advanced placement courses going forward on your performance in a previous class. That would be a prerequisite. So example, if you're going for honors as a sophomore, if you're going for advanced placement government, you would have been in world history, gotten a certain grade in world history minimum, and also most importantly scored a certain number on your PSAT in the English section that corresponds with your college readiness. So we use a PSAT score to determine admittance into our AP classes, because it's a predictor of how you will do in the AP test, and that's the main purpose of taking an AP class. It's the pace and the test prep. We hope, our goal is that in an honors class you would learn the same material, but you might not get the test prep. And the main goal of an advanced placement class is to pass that test and get the college credit, and those scores help us determine whether that's the right learning environment for each student.
Great, thank you. And just to add to that, one thing I love about our curriculum between advanced placement and our college partnership courses, both the ones that we teach in the building and the ones where students go out to colleges, we have seniors who will leave Neumann Goretti with already a full semester of college credits on their transcripts. So there are so many opportunities for them to prepare for those college level courses while they're still juniors and seniors in high school. A question about shadow days. If your student already did a shadow day this year, are they expected to do another one this coming year? They are certainly not required, but we would recommend it. If your student came to 7th grade visitation day, which I know many of your students did, it's a really fun day. It was wonderful. It was so nice to be with all the kids before we shut everything down. They got a really fun taste of what our community's like, but 7th grade visitation day is definitely not a typical day of school. A regular shadow day in the fall for an 8th grader gives students a chance to see what a normal Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at Neumann Goretti will look like, what their classes will be like, what these students are like. So we would definitely recommend that all students do a shadow visit as an 8th grader, just to get that experience. It's a really, really good way for them to understand what life is like at Neumann Goretti. I also recommend they do a shadow at another school so that they have something to compare. There's going to be a school where your student spends a day, walks in, and just feels at home, but they need to explore their options in order to do that. So while it's not required, we strongly encourage it. What's the average number of students per classroom? That really varies. I would say in ninth grade, it's between 25 to 28 because the students are all taking the same core courses. They don't have too much variety in their classes. As they progress each year, they have more options. There's more advanced placement and college options. There are more electives to take as they finish out their core requirements. So by junior or senior year, some students will be in classes with 10 or 15 students. So it really depends on the class and the year. But I would say in ninth grade, 25 to 28 is pretty typical. What is the mode of transportation for the majority of students? We have students who come from all over the city. About 60% of our students live in South Philadelphia, which is still a pretty wide range. And then about 40% come from all over the city, from New Jersey, from Delaware, from the Philadelphia suburbs. So a lot of our students walk. Some of our juniors and seniors drive. Plenty of our students take public transportation. We don't offer any private busing. So it is up to students and their families to figure out how they'll get to school. Students who live more than 1.5 miles from Neumann Goretti are eligible for a free weekly trans pass from SEPTA. The city does that program. So each Friday they get their trans pass for the following week and they can take SEPTA back and forth. We are 3 blocks from the Broad Street line from the Tasker Morris stop. We are along the 45 and 47 bus routes. So we're really accessible via SEPTA as long as that's something that works for you and your family. This is a great question. How safe is the surrounding neighborhood? Are there factors to worry about as far as safety outside of the school? I'm happy to answer this one. I live about 2 blocks from Neumann Goretti. I've lived here 5 or 6 years with my 3-year-old, and we actually have another one on the way, and I love this neighborhood. It, yes, definitely feels safe. I've always felt comfortable walking around myself. The walk from the SEPTA station to school is through a really nice neighborhood. So yes, generally, of course, it's the city. Your kids are from the city too. They know what's okay, but it really is a safe neighborhood. It's a friendly neighborhood. It's a family neighborhood. I feel comfortable here. I would feel comfortable with my own kids in the neighborhood. So I think safety, it's a huge concern for us always, but this is a very safe neighborhood for your kids to be in. Let's see. Do we still offer 2 free college courses senior year from Neumann College? Mr. Quigley, I'll let you talk a little bit more about the Neumann and Manor partnerships. I know you touched on it a little bit.
Sure. We actually offer, we still work with Neumann University. So one of our college enrollment tracks, that's for lack of a better word, is one of our partners is Neumann, and they offer 2 classes every year. I would say if you've taken them yourself, or if you've had experience with an older child taking them, the differences now would be that they are held during the school day, and we do supplement to an extent, but right now the fee for a Neumann University class is $300 for the year, and we break it down $30 per month in your monthly tuition, as opposed to but you get 6 college credits, so it's probably about a $6,000 value for about $300 for the year. And then we have another college partner for on-campus classes called Manor College. Their classes, just because of what they charge us, it's $500 for the year, so $50 per month. Again, you'll take 1 class each semester, so 6 college credits. So we think it's still a really good investment if it's the right, if you're interested and it's the right learning environment for you. And typically there's not any additional book charges. It's just that charge that we charge. So yes, we still have a variety of options. We have kids that also travel to LaSalle every year through 2 of their programs, Boston Scholars and Transformation Scholars. So currently there are 3 partnerships that we have going that are available.
Great, thank you. We have a follow-up question about the personal finance course. Do we teach students how to balance a checkbook, manage their own finances? If students take the personal finance class, yes, those are all things they would cover in that class. It's not a required course. It's an elective. So we don't have, I know some schools have a required finance course. I believe, and Mr. Quigley, correct me if I'm wrong, students have to take at least one. Do they have to take one business course?
Yes, we require one business or technology credit. So most students usually wind up taking at least one business course. Yeah.
Perfect. So that could be personal finance or another business course. So we offer it, but it's not required that they take the personal finance course. Our student teacher ratio, I believe it's about 22-1, but again, like we mentioned, the actual student to teacher ratio in the classroom varies depending on the subject, the course year, how many students are taking that particular class each year. What I will say is our teachers above and beyond get to know the students. They will know all their names early in the year. They know them as people. They really do work with them. They're there to help them at all times. So your students don't ever have to worry about, you know, getting lost in the shuffle or their teachers not knowing who they are. That's something we do take really seriously. Is the entrance exam a timed test? That's a great question. It is not. Students work at their own pace. They can take as much time as they need. I found that students usually take about an hour to an hour and a half, but we allow as much time as they need. We want to see what they know, not how quickly they can read their questions or think through it. So no, it is not timed like some other tests might be. What is the average number of freshman students admitted each year? Typically, our freshman classes have been around 140 to 150 for the last few years, and we are hoping to maintain that same number over the next few years. Again, it's a really nice number where the kids have opportunities to meet plenty of people, to participate in different things, but it's still small enough that they really do get to know each other and build that sense of community. Will the Terra Nova scores from 6th grade be used as a part of the application since students didn't take them this year? We will look at your students' standardized test scores if you submit them to us. It's not usually a deciding factor. It's something we look at in addition to their grades and to their entrance exam score. The reason we like the entrance exam is because students come from so many different schools where they're taking, some students take Terra Novas, some students take PSSAs, some students take Keystones, some students take MAP, and a whole host of other tests. So when we give our entrance exam, it gives us one baseline to compare every student on the same level. So that's what we use primarily, but we may look at those Terra Novas as a secondary source if needed. How rigorous is tutoring, and is tutoring offered specifically in the math department? Mr. Quigley, do you want to talk a little bit about what tutoring options we have?
Sure. This year we're really excited because our director of community partnerships has actually formalized a consistent tutoring program available at Neumann Goretti. So every day from 2:30 until 5:15, we have a room where students could go for homework help and tutoring. We currently have it staffed with director of community partnerships and at least one teacher and rotate. I would, our math teachers also host their own tutoring sessions, and each teacher has their own tutoring sessions, just like you would like imagine when you went to high school or like when you go to college and there's office hours, so they each have their own schedule. So in the school tutoring, it depends on if I have a math teacher that's working it for next year. So you know, I don't want to, I think it depends on who's working the tutoring program. So the math teachers tutor, but then we also have consistent tutoring every day after school that's available to everyone for every subject.
Great, thank you. We had a follow-up question about the science curriculum, asking about biology in freshman year. So as Mr. Quigley said, our 9th grade students all take the Intro to Conceptual Physics, or Physics First. It's a physics course specifically designed for 9th graders where they do a lot of lab work, a lot of hands-on activities. So they will all take that. They will take biology, just not in 9th grade. I believe it goes physics, chemistry, and then biology in junior year. So it's just in a different order than it typically used to be. I will say the kids really enjoy that physics class. It's interactive. They learn a ton. It's hands-on. They're always building things and making things and doing labs, and they seem to really get a lot out of it. And it also really supplements what they're doing in math, which is huge. A question, do students take the entrance exam only once? Yes, it is a one-shot deal. So students may take it once. We don't do retakes. The main reason is that there was a time when we did. We found it was very rare that students' scores changed significantly when they retook the test, especially because it would be such a short window between the 2 times they take it. So they do take it once, but like we said, the entrance exam is not the only thing we look at. So if you have a student who suffers from test anxiety or just has a rough day, that's not going to prevent them from getting into Neumann Goretti. It's just another measure we use when considering students. It looks like those are all the questions. If anyone has any, this would be your last chance to submit them. But otherwise, we'd like to thank you so much for being here. This is the first time we've done something like this. I really hope it was useful and helpful and that you got a lot out of it. We are here for you to answer questions ongoing from now until your student is entering the 9th grade. That's our job. That's what we want to do. My goal as the admissions director is to give you the information you need to make the right decision for your family as often and as quickly as possible. Our information is right here. Just as a quick point, I will be going on maternity leave shortly in just a week or 2. So if you email me in the next month or 2, I may not get right back to you, but I will be back working with you by the end of the summer and all through next year. And I really look forward to meeting all of you, getting to know your students, and working with you through this process. We did have one more question come in. Our uniforms come from Flynn and O'Hara, and we send all that information out in the summer before 9th grade starts, but everything's Flynn and O'Hara. And I think with that, it is just about 7 o'clock. We love to keep things on time here. We said this would be an hour long, so we will let you get back to whatever it is you're doing with your family tonight. But thank you so much for joining us. Please don't hesitate to follow up with questions, and we really look forward to meeting you and seeing you in person as soon as we possibly can. And if Mr. Quigley, Mr. McColgan, if there's anything you'd like to leave us with, please feel free.
Thank you. Be safe. Be well.
Thanks, everybody. Enjoyed spending this time with you.